Hello, and thank you for watching and listening to another episode of the Podacity with Keita Rose. Here we dare to use our voices, have the audacity to own who we are, and vow, raise up your roses, we vow to never stop, never shrink, and most importantly,
Never! Shut up. It's just not gonna happen.
Like, share, subscribe, talk in my comments, tell me how you really feel. Hit that bell notification so I can pop up on your timeline. Let's just hop right into. I have been so overwhelmingly sad and angry these past couple of days, just going down my timeline and seeing such racist rhetoric, right? And I thought to myself, you must be really naive, because you thought that we had progressed as a culture. The American culture had progressed so much from the civil rights movement, so much from the days where black men and black women were murdered in the streets, where women were raped, where black men and women were lynched on trees, where they unleashed dogs on them and hosed them down, right? Just for being a different skin color. I thought we had freedom. And now I'm not too naive, right? I didn't think we were 100% free. I never thought that, because we're not. We'll never be. But I did think that we had progressed as a culture. But it seems like when they say make America great again, you do need to ask the question, who was it great for? Who was it great for? Because the things that I listed weren't too great for black Americans, weren't too great for black people, period. I can't go anywhere, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, anywhere, without seeing bloated head, big gums, little teeth everywhere. I even went on Pinterest. And what do I see when I get on Pinterest? Bloated head, big gums, little teeth as Halloween decorations. No, thank you. No, thank you. I had enough. If you don't know who I'm talking about, if you don't know what I'm talking about, then let me just break it down real quick. Charlie Kirk is a 31-year-old right-wing podcaster. He is not a politician. He is not a pastor. He's not a senator. He's not a president. He's a podcaster. You know, like all your favorite rappers, like all your favorite artists, like all your favorite influencers, he has a podcast. He happened to gain a lot of popularity on that podcast. And because he's a right-wing conservative podcaster, naturally, our Republican government, right, saw that he was gaining a lot of influence, especially with the youth, especially with the conservative youth. Okay, awesome. It's amazing what he was able to achieve. He has a following of 4-point-something million on YouTube, 11-point-something million on Instagram. He also has another YouTube channel called Turning Point USA, which I believe is attached to his nonprofit, where he went around to different universities to talk to college students. Why was this 31-year-old man talking to college students? Well, he was debating them, right? So they'd say things like, do you believe in the civil rights movement? And he would say, no, it was a mistake. They'd say things like, what are your thoughts on black people? And he would say things like black people were better off before the civil rights movement. They were less murderous when they didn't have rights.
When blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today, they were less murderous, there was less break-ins. Black America is worse than it has been in the last 80 years.
Those are some of the things that Charlie Kirk would say on his podcast and in these debates that he would have around college students. You know, the impressionable, moldable youth that may look up to somebody like that may adopt a mindset like that and say, you know what? Yeah, I guess they were better before the civil rights movement. Do you know how many black men and women had to die during that movement so that we can drink out of a water fountain? Because they didn't see us as human? Because they saw us as animals and dogs and savages? We were better off during slavery because even though it was evil, there was structure. What? Okay. So I, of course, ignored every time I saw bloated head, small teeth, big gums. I kept scrolling because I don't need that type of negativity in my life. Because I understand what the civil rights movement did for my people. I understand how my people were treated during that time. I understood that my people were fighting for equality, not supremacy, equality. I understood that. So I don't have time to listen to that. I ignored him. I ignored him every debate I saw, every time he was talking about how women didn't deserve rights and how women should stay in their places and how women should have a whole bunch of babies and not work even though we live in such a economy. Everybody, including your old parents and your youngest child, have to work. I ignored him. But this week it was hard to ignore because tragically, Charlie Kirk was killed. He was on tour doing his debates, and he was at a Utah university where he was tragically murdered. Do I think that Charlie Kirk deserved to be murdered? Absolutely not. Am I going to mourn him? No, I am not. I don't think that anybody deserves to be murdered, which is why we consistently and continuously talk about gun reform. That is why we talked about how mass shootings and school shootings have affected the mental health of everyone involved. The parents of the children that are slaughtered in schools. We talk about that. Uvalde, we're still stuck on Uvalde, and there's been so many more. Evergreen, there's been so many more shootings. That is the reason people have been talking about gun reform. Not that we don't want people, I live in Texas, not that we don't want people to have access to guns, but the fact that the wrong people are getting access to these semi-automatic weapons and they're doing a lot of damages and they're choosing to go into the schools of children and murder them. That's why we were talking about that, because we don't believe that people deserve to die that way. I was really shocked to see how the president reacted to Charlie Kirk's death, because I know that he was a fan of Charlie Kirk, of course, because Charlie Kirk was influencing the youth to join the Republican Party. So, of course, you'd be a fan of him. He had a grave amount of influence, so that would only benefit you. Absolutely. That does make sense. But to fly the flag half-staff... I said, well, maybe he was in the military. He was not. I said, well, maybe he was some type of politician and I just didn't know it. He was not. He was not a senator. He wasn't any of those things. He was a podcaster. Oh, Before they knew what happened to Charlie, a war raged on the left. A war, right? It was the Democrats. It was the left. It was the left. It was those transsexuals with their fake titties and their big, large, size 14 heels. It was them. All of that was being said. I didn't know what this was going to mean. I didn't know if this would blow over in a couple days. I really wasn't sure what to expect. But now I am quite aware of where this is going and why this is going in the direction that it is. And I do believe,
everything that I said before this and after this, the whole podcast is alleged. Everything is alleged. My existence is alleged. You're not even watching this video. This is an illusion. You're not watching this. I'm not really here.
I think that a lot is going down in this country, and a lot is going down in other countries. I think other countries are starting to have meetings and they're getting very, very upset and they're getting very impatient with our current administration. And I do think that we have some Billy Beck to look forward to. I do. I think it's about to hit the fan. If you pay attention to history, you'll know that they'll say history repeats itself, and it's repeating itself because it's not, I genuinely don't think that history repeats itself because people don't learn. I think we know exactly what's going on. I think we've seen this time and time again. And I think the problem is not the fact that we didn't learn from history, but the fact that we feel powerless. The American people right now are very vulnerable. You know, weeks ago, I was racking my brain trying to figure out why 350,000 black women were laid off. Why? You know, I'm doing research and it says that laying off that many black women, that laying off that many people, period, would hurt the economy. It would affect the GDP. That's what it said. And I said, well, why would you want to do that? What is the game plan, right? Because you can see pieces moving, but you don't really know the game plan. You don't really know the end result. What is your end goal? And now it makes a lot of sense why all those women, all those people were laid off. It makes a lot of sense now. And it's incredibly scary. So for all the rappers and the influencers and all the black people that are saying,
this ain't our fight. This the white people fight. This ain't got nothing to do with us.
It has a lot to do with us. And though I would love to ignore this, like I ignored Charlie Kirk's posts every time I'd see it, I absolutely cannot. And you can't either. We can't afford to. We just can't. So Charlie Kirk passes away and HBCUs are threatened, right? We got Alabama State, Virginia, Hampton, Clark Atlanta, Southern University are just amongst the few that have been threatened. Whoever's side, whatever. This isn't about left or right anymore. And it isn't a white versus black. It just isn't. This is you've got to figure out who your enemy in this game is. In this spiritual warfare situation that we've got going on, you need to figure out who the enemy is to you. You got the right wing thinking that the transsexuals and the transgendered people are the enemy. Gay people, black people, Hispanic people. You got black conservatives believing that black liberals are the enemy of theirs. This is ridiculous. And the fact that after this podcaster passes away, you got the president and everyone else saying that this must be the left, this is the left, this is the left. To further divide this country, dividing is not what we need to do right now. If you are smart, if you understand how war works, then you've heard the term divide and conquer. Because if I can get everybody mad at each other, right? If you've ever been with a narcissist, you might have heard the term triangulation. It's when they isolate different parties to get them mad at you. When you divide people, you can conquer them. When you divide people, you can go to one side and say, that side said this about you. You can go to this side and say, that side said that about you. And then they'll be too busy fighting like idiots while you're in the back finishing out your plan. That is how war works. It is a distraction. Hey, look over here while I stab you in your back. That is how it works. So no, we do not need to divide right now. No, we need to unify. This is not a black versus white thing. This is not a left versus right thing. I don't care who you voted for. It isn't that. I said, okay, the HBCUs are being threatened. Why? We have nothing to do with this. In fact, theory has it. Oh, there's so many theories, and we're going to break some of that down. Theory has it that it's Nick Fuentes. Do you know who that is? I didn't. I was forced to learn of who this was. He's apparently another right-wing podcaster, right? But he's extremely right-wing. In fact, he thought that Charlie Kirk wasn't extreme enough in all the disgusting things that he said about gay people, about black people, about women. He said that wasn't enough. He should go further. So allegedly, he runs this group of groypers. What's a groyper, you might ask? Well, that was another thing that I was forced to figure out. It's online gamers. Online gamers that are into politics as well. People that can't get dates. People that take their mom to prom. Those kind of people. Those angry individuals.
Why doesn't anybody like me? I mean, I know I don't have social skills, and I know I don't have interpersonal skills, and I know I have a slight odor of that seeps from my pores. I know I smell like but I don't know, why won't women date me?
There's a lot of conspiracy theories going around. Politicians saying that they're upset. They're so upset. Not that this man has passed away, not in the tragic way that he's passed away, but they're saying, I'm so upset that it was one of us. Because come to find out, conspiracy says that 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, who has MAGA parents, who has Trump voting Republican parents, is the one who apparently pulled the trigger, they say, allegedly. They say they got the guy. And he was a white guy from Utah, has nothing to do with the black community, nothing to do with the black community. Yet we're still being threatened because they're waging war on minorities and they're hoping that we fight each other. They're hoping that we're so distracted with the right versus the left, or I voted for Kamala, well, I voted for Trump. None of that matters. Pay attention and open up your eyes because it's about to go down and you are going to need to be informed. Despite the disgusting things that Charlie said, he was talking about Epstein. He was talking about the Epstein files over and over and over again.
He was starting to talk about topics that you're not really allowed to talk about when you take money. Big checks are being written, and that pressure was increasing every single day. In fact, he was telling the truth even about Jeffrey Epstein. Take a listen.
Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who was obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, that there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well.
Charlie Kirk also told his millions and millions of followers that Israel was completing an ethnic cleansing. That's what he told his millions and millions of followers.
So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still have the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I gotta be careful the way I say this. They're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. They're talking about basically removing 2.5 million people from there, okay? There are some serious questions here, Patrick.
I'm more coming from a place of thinking this was intentional.
I read some of his comments because I was forced to watch some of his videos, And his comments were like, hey, in July sometime, weren't you told to stop talking about this? And Candace Owens, who happens to be one of Charlie Kirk's best friends, she says, I don't think he cared nothing about that token. She said that he was under a lot of pressure. She said that big billionaires that have given him money to discuss certain things. And I'm like, well, what? I want to know the information regarding that. What would they pay him to discuss? What did they tell him to say? What did they pay him to say? That's what I wanted to know, but they kind of glossed by that. Okay. Well, he was spewing a lot of racist rhetoric. That's what I know. So, okay. I'm sure they weren't paying him to say anything about the Epstein files or Israel because they were telling him to stop talking about that, allegedly. That side has said several times that Charlie was politely asked to stop talking about certain because that's what happens when you gain a lot of attention and you start gaining a lot of attention and you start making people aware of certain things that are supposed to be hidden. You get taken. Well, they don't like that. They don't take too kindly to that. They just don't. Candace has alluded several times that whoever they are lying about Charlie's death. There's a lot of conspiracy theories going around, right? They say that maybe Israel had a hand in it. This is what Candace is alluding to. She said that she doesn't have proof, but she's going to keep on digging. And it's what's wild to me about that is I was forced to watch that hour-long podcast titled "They Lied About Charlie Kirk's Death." And Candace the whole time was like,
I'm sure that my life can be arranged to be taken, and over my dead body am I gonna stop? I'm gonna keep talking about Israel. I'm gonna keep talking about Netanyahu. I'm gonna keep talking about it because I don't care. And if you guys don't tell the truth, I'm gonna release all the text messages. Play with me.
There will be nothing that can stop me, okay? And I want you guys to understand, this is not a threat. This is a promise. There will be nothing that can stop me. I will release every single text message. So to those of you who are trying that, I'm seeing the messages, I am telling you to back off right now. Like right now, don't do it, okay? Don't you think about it. I know exactly who you are. I know exactly who you were that were exerting pressure. Don't you pretend to be noble now and say nice things about Charlie Kirk and think you're going to slide into his chair over my dead body, which I'm sure can be arranged.
Now, you are alluding to the fact that these very powerful people have taken Charlie Boy out because of what he may or may not have found out or what he was or wasn't going to expose. Okay? And you are betting your life on it. You are using your public platform to say, come after me now. I'm going to be the target now. I would die for Charlie and this cause. Now, that's the same man that said that black women don't have the brain processing power to be taken seriously.
You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously.
This is the same man that told a child that the civil rights movement was a mistake. And Candace is saying that she'd lay down her life for this man. Now, Candace has showed more anger and vitriol, right? It's her friend. She's every right to do so. But more anger and vitriol and passion and sadness. We even saw her tear up for Charlie. Now, she showed more emotion than his wife did. His wife is rebranding. Erica Kirk is about to take over her new job. She's thinking about how to move her life forward. In fact, we found out how Erica, Charlie's late wife, and Charlie met.
When it was like 3.5 hours, and they were starting to close up, and he was finished with his burger, just sat there, and I'm like looking around like, okay, did I get the job? Like, what's going on? I don't need the job, but did I get it? What's going on? And he goes, I'm not gonna hire you. It's like, okay, well, thank goodness I didn't need the job because I'm already doing stuff here in Manhattan. He goes, I'm gonna date you. And I remember calling my mom, and I was like, hey. She's like, hey, how are you? What's going on? How did it go? And I was like, well, I didn't get the job. She's like, oh, that's okay. I was like, but I got a boyfriend. And she's like, oh, that's nice.
That's a beautiful love story. Sounded like she was going to take over her husband's legacy. She's starting to rebrand. She kissed his hands. They look like Play-Doh. I'm not sure why. A lot of people have conspiracy theories about why his hands look like that. Some people think he's still alive. Some people think that, that's just the embalming process and that's just the way that it looked. A lot of people were weirded out about why she showed herself kissing his hands a lot. Those private moments from a funeral, a lot. But Candace says that she vows. I thought that this would come from the wife, right? Like, I vow to find out whoever did this is going to pay. I'm going to keep on digging. Something isn't right. There's text messages and there's things that I know because I'm his wife. Nope. That all came from Candace. Are you trying to figure out what to do if a civil war breaks out and you and your family have to fight? Do you know who to fight? I don't either. Are you planning to be able to afford groceries next week, but you're not sure if you can? That's how all of us feel. I never thought that we'd have to plan our own demise, but it's good to take preventative measures. This is my balancing my plural. It's a planner and a journal, so you can plan out your life and then cry about it. Not only does it have affirmations, but it has a mind map so you can try to figure all this out by yourself. It has a to-do list so you can be reminded to find your passport and get all your documentations ready. It includes a 2-year undated calendar so you can plan out your future outside of America. It even includes a daily habit tracker so that you can track some of your habits, like, did you drink water today? Well, how much? Did you go to the gym? What were your meals today? How many races did you have to run away from? Just kidding about that last part. It also has 2 pages of stickers. I love stickers. If you're interested in a balance in my plural, you can go down to KitaSaidIt.com, because it's clear that a lot of people don't understand the difference between an opinion, right, and a fact, or an opinion and hate speech. An opinion, I don't like Sprite. Hate speech, no Indians deserve to be here, I don't like Indians. What are you talking about? This group of people don't deserve rights. I like this group of people better when they didn't have rights. That's not an opinion. And you know what I'm noticing is a lot of people are losing friends, and a lot of people are figuring out that their allies weren't actually allies, right? They were friends to them and they felt like they had a genuine connection with these people until they figured out how these people really think about them and how these people are saying, well, I mean, I really don't care about whether or not you have rights. I really don't care about that type of stuff. Well, then we can't be friends. And people are genuinely shocked. Like,
Melissa, you unfollowed me on Facebook?
Yes.
What did I say?
That Hispanics don't deserve to be in America.
Okay.
Right, so I'm Hispanic.
Okay, I'm not following, all right?
What?
I mean, I didn't mean you. I just meant all of your people, like your old grandfather and your children and your cousin. Is he gay? Especially your cousin. But I didn't mean you. I still like you.
that's not how works. Are you how is you cool? How is you cool? That's not how it works. And a lot of people are heartbroken because they're figuring out that, oh, wow, this is how people really feel about me. And you know what the thing is? The thing is that everyone wants to talk about how Christian they are. You know, but what I do know about God, what I do know about Jesus is the fact that he will remove people from your life, right? He will remove people from your life that mean you no well, people that do not have good intentions for you. And yes, it will hurt. And yes, you'll be confused and you'll even wonder why. But all things are working for your good. And you have to know that. You have to know that there is a reason. I don't know what it is, but there is a reason why you found out that your friend of 10 years felt that way about you and feels that way about your people. It hurts. A lot of people have lost 10, 20, 30-year friendships behind whether or not somebody voted MAGA or whether or not somebody believed in what Charlie Kirk was saying. And it's so sad. But that is the reality of the situation. What people want to know is what happened to free speech? If someone can go around and say disgusting things about everyone that isn't straight white male, then why aren't people allowed to say that they don't care? How come free speech is only given to the people that look like the people that are in office? You got presidents and vice presidents showing up on podcasts. Why? You got the flag being flown half-staff because of a podcaster. Is this real? Are we in a simulation? I think so. What I find funny is, you know, when George Floyd died, Candace Owens said that he was a disgusting person. Candace Owens said that he was a drug addict. She wanted us to pay attention to his past. And we said, well, we didn't say he was the black community said, well, we didn't say he was a hero. We wouldn't have even known who he was had he not been murdered the way he was murdered. And had we not had to witness that on our phones, right? It was recorded. And she said, Yeah, that was sad, but pay attention to his past. And plus, he probably didn't even die because of that, the knee on his neck. He died because of a drug overdose. She pushed that narrative and pushed that narrative. She made it clear that we shouldn't care that much because of how heinous and horrendous this person's past was. Breonna Taylor died. She didn't do anything wrong. She had a job. She wasn't a bad person. She didn't have an extensive criminal record. She didn't have a criminal record at all. She wasn't a criminal. Candace Owens said, well, you shouldn't hang around bad people because she had an ex-boyfriend that was a drug dealer. That's the result of you hanging around bad people. That's what Candace Owens said, and I will never forget it. I will never forget how she used her platform to reduce and minimize Black lives. I'll never forget that. And now she's choosing to go against some of Israel's really powerful people. She's choosing to continue on this narrative, and whether or not it's true, I don't know.
Me and everybody that follows this channel doesn't want any smoke. Any smoke. We'll just calm it on down. In fact, you tell my black ass to shut up, I sure will.
She wants to know the truth behind her friend's death. She wants to uncover the truth. When it comes to a Black person being murdered out in the streets in America, she says it's not that big of a deal. But for this man, she will lay down her words. She will lay down her life. She said over her dead body, and she's aware that that can be arranged.
Over my dead body, which I'm sure can be arranged.
This is what I'll say to the Black community. Candace has her own community of people that will rally for Candace. Good for her. If any big, powerful billionaires have any beef with the Black community, Candace is our representative. You can talk to Candace about any of your concerns or gripes, okay? Any powerful prime ministers can talk to Candace about any problems, and that'll be her and her community's issue. Because I'm concerned about my community. I'm concerned about the fact that HBCUs are being threatened. Why? For what? We have nothing to do with this. This is interesting. This is what Bernie Sanders said years ago. I believe 10 to 20 years ago, Bernie Sanders said this.
If you are the Republican leadership, and this is what your goals are to give huge tax breaks to the very richest people in this country. Your goals are ultimately to privatize Social Security so that Wall Street can make money from that. Privatize Medicare so the insurance companies can make more money. Privatize education. Do away with public schools. Now, if you had an agenda like that and you went before the American people, tax breaks for the rich, destruction of Medicare, destruction of Social Security as we know it, lowering the minimum wage or abolishing it, how many votes do you think you'd get? Not a whole lot. Maybe the richest 1% would vote for you. But that's not a lot of votes. So what do? Got a problem. You package it. How do you package it? And here I want you to pay attention to me. This is bad stuff. What you do is divide people up. Divide people up by races. Affirmative action becomes one issue. All them Black people are getting the jobs that we white people used to have. Split people, working class, white against Black. Instead of working together to create decent jobs for all. Those uppity women now, they want the right to choose. We'll split people on the abortion issue. We'll split people up on the gun issue. We'll split people up on religious issues. You follow what I'm saying? So you split people up, and then they end up, if you're a middle-class person, voting against your own interests, and the rich go laughing all the way to the bank.
Then you have white women, right? Like Jennifer Welch. Thank you so much to Jennifer Welch, right? Shout out to Jennifer Welch and Angie Sullivan. Shout out to those two white women. And I'm only emphasizing that they're white because they've said it so many times. They've said that us as white women understand what's going on in this country. And we've lived a long enough time to know what this propaganda is doing and how they're trying to wage war on a certain type of individuals. Listen to this.
And the nation has gone on record and not sanitized the body of work that remains after the murder and assassination of Charlie Kirk. They have very plainly written out exactly what he stood for and what his movement stood for. And here's Lil Smokey talking about that. And then a follow-up video proving that Lil Smokey is a lying liar. Play the clip.
Accuses Charlie of saying, and I quote, "Black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously." But if you go and watch the clip, the very clip she links to, you realize he never said anything like that. He never uttered those words.
If we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
So there it is, Little Smokey, the sitting vice president of the United States, lying.
You got people calling out, this is blatant racism, and it's being used, this propaganda is being used to get you to fight each other, and I won't do it. I will not publicly say or privately say that I have a problem with any white person because I don't. I don't. And you're allowed to vote for whoever the you want to vote for. Now, whether or not I want you in my circle, that's up to me. It's my personal choice. It's just very clear to me what's going down. You know, you want to take all the immigrants out of this country to leave these jobs in the fields open. Then you want to fire 350,000 black women, and unemployment is the highest it's been since 2020 when none of us had jobs, when we couldn't work because of, you know, the pandemic. And I said, oh, he's destabilizing us. They're destabilizing us. That's what they want. They want you to crack. You can't afford food. You're afraid. Everyone's angry. They don't know who to be angry at, and they're not going to be angry at our government. So what are they going to do? We're going to be angry at each other. We're going to be fighting each other. This is the problem. Yeah, it's the Mexicans. The Mexicans are the reason why we can't afford to feed our kids, even though the Mexicans have been here this whole time and we were able to feed our kids. Yeah, it's the blacks. The blacks have got me mad, and their murderous demeanor and their nasty music. It's the blacks. All of them are the same, except Candace. All of them are the same. And so we need to attack them. And it's all a distraction. You got this MAGA lady coming out and saying,
I was the one that reported the information that I had to ICE.
I'm the reason why the Hyundai plant got raided. I'm the reason y'all know them cars, Hyundais?
no, we don't know what a Hyundai is. Hyundai? Is that what you're talking about? She was so loud and proud about being the reason that this car dealership got raided. And come to find out, South Korea was building a plant there, right? They were building a plant there. And naturally, they had their people come out to the plant to set everything up because they would know how they want their plant run. And then Americans were going to be hired so that the South Koreans could go back. Maybe some would stay, maybe if they chose to. They're not criminals. It's okay to stay, but naturally they would know how they want their plant to run. They said they were treated so poorly by ICE agents that South Korea packed their people up and said, no, we're good, and we might close down that plant. So that stops a lot of people in Georgia from having jobs. She was so proud of it, though. Like, even if it hurts me, because I live in Georgia, and even if it hurts the people around me, it doesn't matter. Because you shouldn't be here. Okay. I wonder what will happen if all the countries pull back their support and resources. Could America survive? Since they want us to go home, black people. Go back to Africa. Because you're murderous and you're nasty and you don't have fathers. That was a lot of what Charlie Kirk had spit out his mouth.
What percentage of young blacks have both a mom and a dad raising them?
So if we all go back to Africa and all the Asians go back to Asia, the French people go back to France, and just everybody, who would be left here? Is that what you want? Straight white women and men. Okay. I say okay. I don't want to fight. I say okay. If you guys haven't started traveling, it's important that you start traveling. If you can afford it, it's important that you start traveling. It's important that you become well-traveled and you understand what's going on in different areas, because a lot of what we're told, other countries are poor and they're nasty and they're bad and they're third world countries. It's absolutely not true. They have their own economy and it might not be as developed as America, but they are developing as we speak. And so I don't know. A lot of people are saying the American dream is now to get the out of here, because if our kids can't even go to college without being threatened. I want to talk about Trey Reed for a second. Trey Reed was found hung, lynched, if you will, on a tree, Delta State University. It's in Mississippi. Immediately upon finding his body, maybe a couple hours after, they said no foul play had been suspected. No foul play, but you don't even have the autopsy report. He hasn't even had an autopsy yet. How do you know? You got people allegedly that are his cousins that came out and said this.
Please please, please, please do your research on this. Do not let them sweep nothing else under the rug. Enough is enough.
Now, I don't know where they're getting that the bones were broken and all this stuff. I hope we find out. But that's what I'm worried about. Black children and black youth that can't even go to school without being hung on a tree in 2025, while you have 40-year-olds going around and debating 17-year-olds about whether or not black people deserve rights. I'm worried about the black children that just want to go to school. That's what I care about. That's what I'll lay down my life and fight about. I guess black people's way of taking themselves out is to climb a tree with a rope and then wrap the rope around the tree and then wrap the rope around themselves and then jump.
Because we're all stupid, right? Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. We lack the brain processing power.
Enough is enough. I am overwhelmed. I am scared and I am fearful. I don't even know what's going on, but I do know that people are a lot of celebrities are starting to up and leave America. Let me know down below if that's an option for you. If you ever thought that you'd have to leave America, were you born here? Did you come here in hopes to have freedom, in hopes to have a better life for you and your family, in hopes to make money and live out the American dream? Did you ever in your life think that this would be the American dream? I didn't. Candace Owens said that she suggests that people take their children out of public schools, right? That'll really harm the government because the government is in on it. And the government wants the children. They want to get the children first. Yeah, that's the reason why Charlie was going to different schools. Absolutely, you're right. They want to get our children first. That's the reason why Charlie looked at a little black boy and said civil rights movement was a mistake, because they want to get to the children first. Candace is absolutely right. She is so right. But unfortunately, Candace, the American people can't take their children out of school. They can't, because they have to work 80 hours a week in order to provide for them. And then they have to pray that those same children that they're providing for come back home and that they're not shot dead in their classrooms. That is the reality for us Americans that aren't billionaires and millionaires. Us Americans that don't get billionaire dollars to discuss certain things. Well, okay. I'm going to wrap this episode up. I know I don't usually talk about politics, and I genuinely didn't want to know who any of these people were, and I'm sad that I had to find out about them. Like, share, subscribe, talk in my comments, and until next time, I will holla.
And I do not celebrate the killing of anyone. Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated. But I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half-staff, calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist and spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land. And hearing people with selective rage who are mad about Charlie Kirk but didn't give a damn about Melissa Hortman and her husband when they were shot down in their home, tell me I ought to have compassion for the death of a man who had no respect for my own life. You do not become a hero in your death when you are a weapon of the enemy in your life. I can abhor the violence that took your life, but I don't have to celebrate how you chose to live.